Mhm. Okay, great. Right. And I think we can change it a little bit, like clearly put our mission, like introduction, the mission of, right there, and then move into just like Kim mentioned, something very clear, short, straightforward. Yes, that's better. Okay. Yes. Right. Yes. Right. Right. Yes. You're absolutely right. What do you think about 3 years versus five, since our plan for the Ohio Department of Education is 3 years? Is that okay? Or one? It's one needs assessment, is what it's called. Okay, great. Three. Perfect. Okay. Under the page of instructional vision, so this, since this plan has gone into effect, there are three objective meetings: objective one, objective two, objective three. One thing that we have been working on is trying to develop a visual, and I'm going to go print that off in just a second, that shows how all of these things are connected, sort of to like Miss Bryant's point, that we want our families to see how everything clicks together. So that is a visual that we, once we decide on exactly what we want, that we want to put it together. And we did develop a sample one that I will go and print in just a minute. So I think on this page, something that we need to look at, um, and like I said, please tell me what you guys think. Either we need to separate this out and put four objectives, and I would love to hear your opinions on. The first is high quality academic programming, and linked to that is highly skilled, innovative professional staff. So we have been operating as those two things are part of objective one. We could combine them into one statement, or we could add objective four that is specific to high quality staff. So that's just something to think about. But we have been combining. Okay, great. The other, if you'll take a minute and look at the wording. Oh, okay. Have objective four. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. And something we did for our staff last year, we had, in my understanding that they had not done this before, we did have a leadership academy that any staff member, not just teachers, could be a part of, and a group went through, about 30 staff went through it last year, and then we're going to continue that this year. And we're also adding several professional development threads. So every person in exec cabinet will be leading at least one. So I'm really excited about this because it gives our staff the opportunity to grow professionally, and also it taps into the knowledge base of our exec cabinet. So, for instance, Connie Solano, who you guys met last month, she will be leading one on data analysis. I will have a leadership group that I'm leading for the district, and then the teachers or staff members that participated last year will have the opportunity to be part of a specialized superintendent's group that they also will be meeting. So we meet one time a month. One of them is doing a book study. We'll have a book study. It's called Dare to Lead by Brene Brown, that talks about really meeting the needs. There'll be one on trauma-informed students. That will be led by Dr. Wilson. And so all of the people in the group will have at least one thing that they do. Our staff can sign up for. There'll be meetings every month, but not in December and not in May. So each month we get together, we look at a different topic, and there's a project linked to that as well. So we're excited. So we are really branching and trying to develop personal development, professional development with our staff. So we can think about that. You guys, let me know, because we really are good to go in either direction. We do want to put, again, especially, I think probably it would fit under where the hands are, which is what we refer to as Objective 2. Put things in there about culture, equity, student voice. We have in here discipline and respect, which are buzzwords, and that means different things to different people. So I think as a group we need to just look at those two words and define out exactly what we mean by that. The fourth one, where the hand is, that is about our families, and that is what we refer to right now as Objective 3. So right now, the two top ones are part of Objective 1. The hands like this is Objective 2, and the hand like this is Objective 3. And that involves community and, just trying to create partnerships. I think another thing that came up, it says that we want to welcome students. I personally really want to engage students. I don't want to just welcome them. So I would like to see that word change into something that has a little bit of a higher stakes to it, because there's a lot of difference in being welcoming and truly engaging the students. So that was just one word that, I thought we may want to look at. Mm-hmm. Yeah, challenging. That's a good one. Other thoughts on vision? I think clean could be a safe environment. We are working very hard to get it clean. Matter of fact, I was just with Gary Crowley. I walked all the buildings last week, and I'm like, we've got a month. We got to get these buildings clean. So we definitely want clean buildings for our students, but I think that goes into caring environment as well, because if you walk in a place, the message when you walk in and you look at it, it says a lot. So if we make sure everything is clean, and if there's a mark on the wall, the next day that mark is gone, that says a lot about the environment for our students.
I think sometimes outside of the buildings,
Yes.
like the signage,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that this will be an ongoing situation, but the bird's nest and
Yes.
the mess on
Yes.
the walls.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe in the spring. I mean, you don't want to disturb the
Mm-hmm.
mess or whatnot, but once they're gone, let's
Right.
remove them. Clean the walls.
Yeah.
Why don't we have any flowers? Don't you
Mm-hmm.
see any flowers
We
out
need to
there?
work on that.
To welcome people when they come to the
Yes.
buildings.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Right. I
some
agree.
stuff like that.
Yes. And I'm glad you brought up the bird in the letters. So I wanted that taken care of. I was like, we've got to get this taken care of. So we got a quote. It was like $60,000. I about had a heart attack. So we did find a company that came out and looked, and our letters are hollow in the back. That encourages the birds to build. So we found that another company that can come in, like Kim mentioned, once everything's out, and filling in the backs of those letters with an expandable foam should help quite a bit for that. It may not totally take away the issue, but I think it will go a long way into resolving that. Right.
They're not going to be able to make the nest.
Exactly. Now they still can sit on top.
Maintenance
Well, they clean, but those birds come back really fast because I had them clean it before our retirement celebration, and it was clean. And like 1 week later, it was dirty again. So the birds, especially in the spring, they're fast. So that is a problem with the design. So the letters, for instance, at the ELC are solid; they're not that hollowed out. The other thing somebody suggested is putting up a cage, but I don't like the look of that. So we were looking at the foam. So that is something that we are working on. But I agree 100%. Actually, the meeting I had right before that, putting out flowers, doing some of those very specific things to make it look welcoming as they walk in. That's crazy. That's okay. Yeah. Huh. And that worked? Huh. Maybe we need to buy some rubber snakes. That's right. Have little in the back of them. Yeah, that's not bad because they told us there was a machine you could buy with a sound, but then when we checked in, the results weren't good. But I'm gonna check into that rubber snake. That's all.
Our credit union, what they did, I came down there, I'd never seen it, and there was this owl sitting there. I thought it was live, but it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And then she had a wolf on the inside.
Oh.
And she said, so I asked, I said, why do y'all have those animals? She said to keep the birds away.
Huh. Well, that would fit perfect if we had some owls. So we'll definitely check into that. But that is a concern for me.
Animals they don't like, so they don't come around. But I don't know about the little birds up on the lettering.
So we are working on that because we want to get that cleaned up. So those are the four big under instructional vision. Yeah.
So back to this here, the word clean in there. Are we taking that out? Because I feel like that's demeaning.
Me too.
It's
I do too.
that your school's going to be clean,
Yes.
and if we have to say it, it feels like there's an issue.
I felt like that too, because it's like we want it. That's part of, I think, a caring, welcoming environment. I agree. I would like to remove that word.
At the bare minimum, if you don't do
Yes.
anything else, it should be clean.
That's right. I agree. The word clean, because I think that should be, it says a safe, clean, and caring environment. I think having a safe, caring environment, clean should be part of it, like embedded by saying it.
You automatically assume it's clean.
It's,
I just
yeah.
us saying we're going to keep it clean implies that there is a problem. Like,
right.
Or we expect a problem.
right.
Like with our dress code, that came up, and sort of the same thing. If I'm saying to students you have to come clean, then I'm implying that they may be dirty. I don't know. It just kind of rubs me a little bit the wrong way.
I agree.
And I know this is little words, but things to think about. Yes. Okay, so those are the instructional vision. And then when we go to objective 1, that I would like to change this sentence to something that is like the formative instructional practice, or FIP. That is part of quality instruction, and that is part of our plan. So
What sentences you want to change?
right up here,
Oh,
I think under objective 1, we should reinforce what we put over here. So, for instance, if it says objective 1 and we just have this one, or we combine it, that's what should be in this little box.
I agree. I think that's what confused me reading this packet. I didn't quite understand where these fit because I didn't realize that they were the objectives.
Yes.
So, I mean, I didn't realize it until we were talking just now, even after reading it a couple of times at home. So I do think that they need to be listed here exactly as they are up here.
And that goes back to Kim's point also. If we're talking about it a lot, we may understand it, but to somebody reading it that doesn't, it's like, okay, objective 1, and we put diverse, high quality academic program, whatever we decide on right there. And then it says to accomplish this, we will do da 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 da. So is everybody okay with that? Okay, great. In the strategies, I mean, the strategies aren't.
This goes back to what Kim said about the straightforward
Yes.
language. Establish a practice of deconstructing
Yes.
Ohio's learning standards. Again, I mean, not just our families.
Right.
Most anybody is going to look at that and say, well, what is that even?
Right. I agree 100%. Yeah.
I picked that up as well. I almost thought like the word challenging or something should be there, showing that we're not trying to fight against necessarily, but make challenge ourselves to be the best within this.
Yes, I
Or,
agree.
I don't know what word fits there, but I don't like deconstructing.
We could say, now I'm kind of wrestling with why the word deconstructing. was
Yeah, I
chosen
think we
begin
need to
with.
take that out. I don't.
To utilize the learning standards to create and communicate challenging learning targets that will challenge our students, or something like that.
Yes.
I like that much better.
Yeah, that's a great point. And if you noticed under the third, it does what Carol had mentioned, like district leadership team, DLT. So if you see something in there that is not, if we've forgotten to highlight or break it down, please.
Dr. Hawkins, to the average parent, I'm not going to know what a DLT even means, even though it tells me what the
Gotcha.
letters stand for. I'm not going to know, what does that mean?
Okay.
Is that a head teacher? Is that an administrator? They're not going to know. That's what I mean. That I know you want to get your point across. We want our families to understand it too.
You know, Kim, with that point, what do you think about if at the end we put an index where we define several things,
Well,
like a glossary?
we could
Yeah.
do that, but I also think, I mean, does it matter to our community or our parents or our students what all of these things are? I mean, couldn't we just say our administrators, our educators, just put it in plain language? They don't need to know that we have DLT.
The specifics. That's true.
But I disagree with that again. I'm sorry, Julie.
It's okay.
But I want parents to know that we are working. We do have modules in place to focus on certain things. And these are the ones.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if they weren't in here, because not many parents are going to come in and say, okay, explain to me what
Right.
you're doing.
Well, I like Carol saying like the glossary
I think
because
that's important
we
also.
could put at the end a DLT, who is on the DLT, that each building has it, and just give a lot more definition
So that
than
the
we
parents
want.
would also know when they have a problem, maybe that they need to focus on one of these leaders here versus I don't know.
Yeah, I like that idea because then we could keep things short on the page or straightforward. But for someone who's like a deal, what is that? They could go to the back and read and get more information. Okay, great. So we've already talked about that, and I need to print out that cog. It's in the shared drive. So then the results of the work. That some of this will have to be updated. Some of it we're still for instance, we are going through the 5-step process. That's a process that's defined by the Ohio Department of Education. I'm going to actually, Becky, if you want to look at that, I'm going to print out the visual that they've been working on because it shows. So give me just 1 second.
Dr. Hopkins, who is they?
Teaching and learning, as well, all of the departments here. Teaching and learning, our EL department, Sarah, which is over student service, special ed. They have been coming together to try to create something that shows how everything fits together. So Jana is the main person that gets the credit for this because she has really been working hard, but she has been going to the principals, different people at our administrative retreat. We passed it out, we showed this visual and asked for input on it, so all of those people have been involved. So I'm going to print that if you want to. What, you can talk about the colors. If you want.
Oh, we talked about doing different colors.
Can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me? They talked about doing different colors. Can you hear me now?
You're on. You are? Oh, okay.
Talked about doing different colors.
When you say different colors of what?
Changing from the colors we currently have.
The green and red.
Mm-hmm.
What's wrong with the green?
I don't know.
Oh,
I believe
never
it
knew
was
why
just
we
a
went
suggestion.
With green anyway, why we didn't stick
I
with
always
red and
wondered
black.
why we had the green. Do you remember, Michael?
I was on the committee, but I don't remember any discussion about what it was gonna look like. It was just, we talked about other things, but it was presented as a design.
what do they wanna go with? School colors or something?
As I get older, the more
I don't know.
Oh, my mom.
Well, I mean, to me, that's trivial. It could be black and
Well,
white.
sure.
I'd read it. At least once.
No, we don't want to just black and white.
No, I was saying if it was black and white, I'd just read it once and that'd be the end of it.
See, Jeremiah Henson was the one who first pulled this together, he and Brock Kenzer, because it still has Jeremiah's name on the last page. If you have any questions, please contact Jeremiah Henson,
The green
who's
does
no
pop
longer
out
here.
at you.
Pardon?
The green does pop out at you.
That's true, and it does, and it also makes the red and black
Yeah,
pop
I
out
kinda
too.
like it, and I think,
And I can find it easy.
yeah, I think sometimes when, like, if we get too caught up in that everything has to be red and black, or when people get caught up in, like, when we did the bicentennial here in the city, and they talked about the flowers in the flower pots and everything, they said, oh, we should do everything in red, white, and blue. It's like, have a little creativity, a little
Right.
pop. I kinda like the pop of color.
Well, that takes care of that. I'm checking that off for her.
Well, it doesn't mean that we can't change it. I mean, if they have another suggestion.
Does anybody else have a suggestion? Can you hear me?
You said the
Yeah, I
committee
hear you.
said that they had suggestions.
I'm just reading from Valerie's
Okay,
notes because
wonder
I
what
wasn't a
colors
part
that
of
they
that.
wanna go with. I would like to hear
Let me see.
what they, since she brought it up.
And if we are doing this as like a reboot, a 2.0, we could tweak the color, not make it look completely 100% different, but maybe a slightly different color on the cover, so that, you know, people see, oh, okay, this is a new version. It's kind of like when a company updates their website. It's awful when they change everything,
Yes.
because you're used to it the way it was, and you don't even recognize it as being the same thing. But you do want a little refresher once in a while.
She also has on her notes here for the cover, do we want to add a framework for excellence?
Yes, so this is the COG that I was talking about, and if we do another objective, we'll add another one. But
Do you want to hand me one?
even put this on the front or in it somewhere, but it shows, for instance, academics with objective 1, and then around the part of the cog are all the different things that we focus on. So formative assessment, leveling the playing field, instructional framework Marzano, which is our evaluation system, professional accountability, job embedded PD. So all of those things are what would go into the academics. School culture, which is 2, commitment to equity, caring relationships, courage and will to take action, a sense of urgency, high expectations, PBIS. Then we put objective 3, classroom, community, family, district, school. All of those things go around what is in the center, which is to meet the needs of our students. And this year our theme, this is a little early, but our theme is #worthy, and it's not just going to be for this year, but we are making a push in our buildings that you are worthy. Our students are worthy, our staff are worthy, and we are structuring all of our weekly awards around the different, like WORTHY. They all have, like, W as wonder, being curious, trying to, get more information, wanting to learn as a teacher so that you meet the needs of our students. So we'll be giving more information on that. But all of these 3 objectives, the main reason is because that's what makes our school work. So our academics, our social, our emotional, those surround and go through that. That's what it's all about. So that's, as I said, Jana has done a lot of work on this to show that these objectives are not there just for the sake of being an objective. We are putting these together that if all of these things are working effectively, then the wheels are going to move. And if some teachers happen to be watching, they'll get, so in all of our buildings, they're doing an opening day activity where they have to put these things together to make it move, to highlight the cog and how things fit together. So that's what, I liked it too, but that's kind of what we've been working on with this strategic plan. So as we, for instance, under objective 1, we would want to include the different, the things that are around the cog. That's what we feel are very essential in order to make academics excellent. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think this is great. I think for visual people, it like really simplifies everything and shows, because this book, I mean, as someone who is new to the board and did not see this book before, I read it a few times and still I was feeling kind of like probably a lot of the parents feel. I could understand all of the concepts, but I just
It was like, how's it fit?
Right,
Yeah.
it felt like a lot of information, and I didn't know how. It just felt like a lot of information. I like the very simple visual, though. I think
Great.
it works well.
And
that's something I think just about everybody can get.
Yeah.
Right,
Now,
right.
Pieces
Going-
fitting together and moving.
going back to the previous discussion, though, I think we do need to tweak some of the wording,
Mhm.
like PBIS again.
Yes. Yes.
Like,
Yes.
She was moving fast. I was going to ask her, what does that mean?
That-
Pedagogy.
Well, pedagogy is the word. PBIS is like that.
I
I
have
know,
it here in
but
objective
pedagogy,
2.
how
But
many
that's
are-
our glossary.
Oh, that's right, with the glossary.
We'll have to
What
put,
is this professional development under, is that what that stands for, under job and?
under
job
where,
Embedded,
yes,
okay.
job embedded PD.
right, so I think we need
So,
to
yes.
clarify the
definitely.
language
Mhm.
a
And-
little bit.
We could also, as we decide on these, each of the things that are in the cog, we could list those as our strategies. We could define that out. I just would like to everything fit together. So like what Stephanie mentioned, here's objective 1, here is the objective. And then here are our strategies, and this is how it fits together. And then the result of the work, what are we going to see from that related to the cog?
I would like to see
Do you?
the staff in there as
Mhm.
one of those.
So another cog.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then, with the strategy under strategies, we talked about that we would use the strategies from the cog, and that we are going to make sure that they are aligned with our Ohio Improvement Plan, because that is, what we have to do, the one needs assessment to make sure we're meeting the goals for our students. Okay, objective 2 in this book, which is related to making sure students have a safe, supportive PBIS, by the way, it defines here positive behavioral intervention supports. PBIS is where we are showing students, and I think it'd be good to put this in the glossary. Everyone has different definitions for different words, so we want to be very clear about what we want. So we actually go all the way to the basics at the beginning of school. Standing in the cafeteria, what's that supposed to look like? This is what it's supposed to look like. So we are teaching everyone what our expectations are, because we don't want to just make the assumption that people know how to stand in line, because then they may get in trouble for something that they really didn't even understand. So we're also, just trying to look at, for instance, our signage. I was walking with the principals last week. Anything that a teacher puts on the door, it needs to be positive instead of negative. So instead of putting something like stop with a line, do not enter this space without a pass, flip that. All students are welcome with a pass. That type of message, just making sure whatever we have on our walls, that we're approaching it from a positive side instead of the more punitive negative side. So under strategic for number 2, again, we're going to relate it to the COG, aligning it to our Ohio Improvement Plan. In our Ohio Improvement Plan, we say, for instance, that Mount Healthy City Schools will create, in collaboration with students, staff, and families, safe and supportive learning environment, defining what that is, and the strategies would be listed. We have incorporated PBIS in all of our buildings. We are tying that into Worthy this year, and specifically all of our awards will be linked to that with the different letters of Worthy. And then under this part, developing and monitor the MTSS model. Again, that's a 3-year plan, but that would go under safety, because it does deal with mental health quite a bit. So that would be under number 2. Objective 3 is where we are.
Before we move on.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with the idea of a glossary in the back, but I think we do want to make it as user-friendly as possible. So, like, for instance, implement positive behavioral intervention, blah, blah, blah. Instead of just expecting people to go to the back to see what that is, maybe a 1-sentence.
Okay. Gotcha.
Here's what that is.
Okay.
Because, again, we are
yes.
trying to eliminate the barriers to,
right. Absolutely.
to them understanding, and to me that's a barrier if they
Okay.
have to flip to the back
Always.
to look
Yes.
up everything.
Okay, great. And what we can do is have at our next meeting in August a sample draft based on like all of the input, and then we can even talk more about that. We do need to decide, or as the board, do you want 3 objectives or 4? So like what Kim had mentioned, like separating that out, just so that we know the direction for that. Strategy 3 or objective 3 incorporates more of the community aspect, and we are doing a lot with this. Our back to school event is a community partnership. We are partnering with the church right across the street. Pastor Washington has bought 1,000 book bags for us. We're also partnering with different organizations for a food pantry. So this aspect we are working on, and we are trying to increase volunteers in our school. We've partnered with a lot of our local universities to come in and do their student teaching hours in our buildings. So the objective 3 is working with that. We would like to incorporate a more regular survey to our community, where each quarter, working with the public relations person that we hired last board meeting, one of their responsibilities is every quarter there will be a survey on how we're doing, and we want to make that part of our culture so that our families know that they can go there and they can fill that out, and we'll be reviewing that information. There is a link on our website that they can send messages, and when they do, I always reach out to the families immediately. But we want a way that we can really gauge our buildings, and as a district, are we meeting the needs of our community? So surveys will be one thing that we are planning to incorporate into that. And in addition, we are looking at having some parent education classes opportunities. So for instance, FAFSA, which is the financial aid that you fill out to go to college. You know, I've spent a lot of my life in schools, and when my children were in college, I hated filling out the FAFSA. I was just like, oh, again. So that is overwhelming to many people. So having sessions on why do you need to fill out the FAFSA? Well, your child could go to college for free. How do you fill out the FAFSA? We're going to have community nights where our counselors are present. Come up here and we'll help you fill out the FAFSA. Also understanding that there in essence is a pot of money, and as people apply and get awarded, that amount goes down. So the earlier you apply, the better chances that you will get the money. So many of these things, helping our parents understand the systems related to college so that they can fill that out. Also on the athletic side, the higher your GPA, the lower your ACT score has to be for Division I schools. So, you know, really pushing to families, they might think, oh, you know, my child is an awesome athlete, they're going to get a scholarship. Well, if you can take classes and maintain your GPA, push the importance of study tables and things like that, then what you get on the ACT isn't as vital for that. So we are developing many different types of parent education classes that will be going on in our schools, including things that we even did last year, like literacy nights. We also had a night to highlight some cultural things. September was Hispanic Month. We had Black History Month in February. We also celebrated Chinese New Year. So there were a lot of different programs that were going on, so we want to continue to do that. So that's related to Objective 3. And then in the back, this just had how we assess our effectiveness. Of course, you know, we have tests, and they're not very good right now, but, you know, we're working on it. Then we also we put in satisfaction levels. So this was in the strategic plan, but I could not find any data showing where this was gathered on a routine basis and analyzed. So I really feel if we're going to leave that in there, we need to have, you know, every quarter, whatever it's going to be, and that information will be shared with the board. You know, every quarter, okay, here is the information, here it is versus the schools, here it is versus the district, here is how we're responding to it, because I feel if we're telling our community we're doing this, then we need to do that. And then in the back there was just some, I think, more definitions. It says areas of focus, but I feel like they were defining some things and some guiding questions, but the guiding questions really weren't answered, so they were just kind of put there. So I think if somebody's reading, they'd be like, okay. I felt like they put that section in just to help people understand the education processes a little bit more. And then, of course, we need to update the information in the back, you know, with board members and things like that. Okay, so that was a quick overview. We're just going because we don't have a lot of time, and I didn't want to take too much. But other thoughts, we can put together a draft. But like I said, it might be good for everybody to discuss. Do you want to stay with 3 or move to 4 for the objectives, so that we just know the way to go for that? And any other thing the glossary I think is a great idea, making sure that's in there in the one sentence so that I can get a basic understanding. But if I want more, for instance, I can put PBIS, this is our behavioral system, just a sentence. But then in the back, under PBIS, we could explain that there are 3 tiers, and this is what we're going for. And most behaviors, most of the school is at tier 1, but that little point at the top of the pyramid that is the 3rd tier, that's what we have a lot of interventions for. So we can definitely work on that. So what are your thoughts about that?
I think there's something to be said for only having 3 objectives, just because, again, if people look at it, 4 objectives I gotta think about and everything. If we combine them, I think it could be done. A diverse, high-quality academic program provided by a highly skilled and innovative professional staff. I think that could be done, but I also don't think it would be the worst thing in the world if we divided them. I'm not sure that's a...
What are other thoughts?
I think dividing them, I like 4 personally better. I do think that those are 2 separate ideas, 2 separate concepts.
Okay.
I know that they are very intertwined, but I think completing that plan is 2 totally different strategies.
Okay. Mr. Kilgore, Miss Ellis, what are your thoughts?
I think you get too much to read, you can't comprehend all that, you get discouraged.
That's what the concept.
Okay.
So
All right.
go with 3.
Okay, we got 2, 3, 2, 4.
I don't, it doesn't make any difference to me whether it's 3 or 4. But what I was thinking is, you mentioned that y'all talk about both of those as if they're one. Maybe you could keep them separate, but yet discuss them together.
Okay. We definitely could. We have the district-wide, we have the objective 1, 2, and 3 meetings. And so in the objective 1 meetings, we do cover data on both sides of that related to those top 2 points. So
I think this is another way we can show our staff that they're important and they're in our plan,
okay.
and we want to focus on them also.
Well, and then and I agree with that. If we're gonna do that, then I think we need to actually explicitly say that we're supporting our staff also, have that be part of
As
the
part of
statement there.
objective 4.
Yeah.
So actually separate it out. So that would be objective 1 is very much student-based with the high-quality academic programming. And I think we're doing a lot of things, like the culinary edition fits right into this. Then if we separated it out with the staff, then we would define that more in relation to how we are supporting our staff and growing our staff. Just like we're growing our students, we're growing our staff, and that would also feed into retention and all of those types of things. The third one is about safety and making sure that everyone has equitable opportunities, and then the atmosphere that welcomes the community and community involvement, which we are reaching out and expanding on that. So 4? Yes?
Fine with me.
Okay. All right. So we will work on a draft that we will I will send it to you before the board meeting, but our next meeting is August 15th, and I will get that to you.
From July to April.
I know. I'll get that to you so that you can review it ahead of time. And thank you. I appreciate all of that input for this.
Well, that was perfect.
Yeah. Whew, talk fast. So we could get to it at 6. There's Dr. Wilson. Hi.
Okay, we'll just go right on along. We, July 11th, 2022.
Second.
Bryant second. Bryant.
Huh? Is there
Yeah,
any
Miss Bryant
changes
seconded.
that you wanted to make? Okay. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Mrs. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore?
Yes.
Dr. Turner?
Yes.
Okay. Everybody's had a chance to look at the minutes of the regular meeting held on June the 27th. Could I have a motion to accept them?
I move.
Second.
Was there any questions on it? The usual?
Kilgore and Bryant.
Okay. She's got that soft voice now.
No,
I heard
I
you
was
all
watching her.
before, now you done got soft on me again. Okay, can we have roll call, please?
Yes. Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Mrs. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore?
Yep.
Dr. Turner?
Yes.
Okay, do we have anything from the Mount Hunter teachers or so? Okay, any communications?
No.
Okay, there's no Great Oaks board meeting because it's not till Wednesday. Okay, you got any legislative day
I
on
actually
vacation?
I do not tonight because I just reported 2 weeks ago and the legislature is on recess right now, so.
Okay. Okay, we have the report of the treasurer.
There is no report of the treasurer.
Okay,
She's still here.
she's here, but she has nothing to say. Okay, superintendent's report.
Back to me. All right. So, exciting news. We received a grant for Each Child Reads, $34,615. We're super excited about that. And then the next one, even more excited. We were awarded the Emergency Connectivity Fund Round 3, and we will be receiving $274,894.40. So we are very excited about that. We have a lot of technology needs in the district, and so we can use that money towards continuing buying laptops. So that is very, very exciting. And I do want to note, a lot of these grants right now, Kristen Yancey, who is one of our grant writers, she works so hard on trying to find grants, and if she finds anything that even is remotely close, she will apply for it. So I'm excited because we continue every month to get these different grants for our district.
Can I answer a question?
Yeah.
How is it going with the, I guess, Wi-Fi out in the Seven Hills area? How is that going?
They are working, they have to lay the cable on in that area, so it's in the process of just when they get
Oh,
around
okay.
to it.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, thank you.
You're welcome. Item B, last month we talked about the culinary project that we would be using our ESSER funds for. This is the first step, which is the approval of Immersion Design, who will be our governing group to help make sure the work is completed in the way that it should be. They put together the PowerPoint that I sent to you guys just to give you an overview. So if you are supportive of us proceeding with this project, then this would be the first step to approve them to be over that project.
Okay, can we have a motion?
Second.
Great.
Okay. Y'all have any questions? Can we have roll call, please?
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant? Mrs. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore?
Yes.
Dr. Turner?
Yes.
Great, thank you. The next item is the recommendation to approve Empower Learning for the removal of the old Promethean boards, installation of the new boards, and this also will be filling in. If you have or have not been at the high school, the old boards are on rails that go above, so they have to take down the rails, they take down the boards, they remove the boards, and then they have to fill in those holes that were in the ring. So to do do that, the cost is $118,675, and this also will be paid out of ESSER money.
Okay, can we have a motion?
Bryant
Second.
Anderson.
Okay, y'all have any questions?
The old boards are taking down. What are they doing with those? Selling them?
Well, we wanted to sell them, but no one wants them. So if anyone would like some, you are welcome to them. What they suggested is you could put them up places and put chalkboard paint on them or whiteboard paint. But we did look into trying to sell them. We reached out to a lot of different companies, but 12 years is a long time in technology, and we have not been able to find anyone interested in buying them.
Can you send them to a foreign country?
So we
used to
will
do
be
that.
moving them to the warehouse area. Gary will be in charge of that. And again, reaching out to nonprofits, asking if they are interested at all or if any part of them. And then if they are not, then we will have to eventually dispose of them. We could put them up for auction as well if we wanted to. I mean, if anybody would buy them, but
Okay, can we have roll call?
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Ms. Bryant, Mrs. Ellis,
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore,
Yes.
Dr. Turner.
Yes.
thank you. Item D is the recommendation to enter in a partnership with Hamilton County Educational Service Center for Head Start Early Learning Preschool for the 2021-22 and 22-23 school year. I just wanted to make a note. They have been our provider for Head Start since I have been here in 2020 and on. Last year, the agreement was sent to an employee that is no longer with us, and so it was never sent over to district office. So as they were getting ready for the new agreement for this year, they realized the old agreement had never officially been signed, but they did provide service for our students last year, so we just wanted to clean that up. It doesn't impact us, but on their end, it's better if they ever were audited.
Wasn't she with them, not us?
No, she was with us.
Oh, really? Okay. Sounds
Yeah.
interesting. Okay, could we have a motion?
So moved.
Speak up.
Was that T and D?
Bryant.
Yeah, well,
Turner.
it was Kim.
Turner,
Bryant.
It was
yeah.
Kim.
That's what I have.
Can we have roll call, please?
Yes, Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Ms. Bryant, Mrs. Ellis,
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore,
Yep.
Dr. Turner.
Yes.
Thank you. Item E is the recommendation to accept bus routes and bus stops for the 2022-2023 school year with the authorization for the superintendent to change routes as it becomes necessary.
Do we have a motion?
Second.
Any questions?
Did we add any routes like you had mentioned in your, that we might have to add some routes this year? Did we add, like, I think St. Matt's was one, or that we had to, we did? Yes. Okay. Just one. Thank you.
I do have one question also. During the winter months, are we still providing transportation for the high school? Yes. Okay.
High school has transportation all year long.
High school?
Yes. We did build that into the route, and each year as part of the contract before, we were given additional buses, and so that did help as we added the additional routes. So the high school is included year-round to have transportation if you are more than a half a mile from our school.
Oh, y'all dropped that.
We did. We dropped it primarily because there are so many busy roads that students have to cross, and so it's a half. No sidewalks. It's a half mile, and you do not have to cross a major road, because last year, we got some calls from, and I had to agree with them. Someone calling and saying, I live, almost a mile, not quite a mile, and I'm going to have my kindergartner walk to school and cross Hamilton Avenue. I wouldn't let my kindergartner do that. So we really tried to listen to our families, and Gary worked with Peterman as we renegotiated to drop that. So we're excited about that.
Any questions? Could we have roll call?
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Mrs. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore? Dr. Turner?
Yes.
Thank you. Item F is the recommendation to enter into a service agreement with Peterman to provide transportation services for special needs students.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, I got a question. Is it somebody different? I mean, who was providing the transportation part?
There's like go
Oh,
three or
okay.
four that we're going to go over, but they all use vans and different things like that. So we actually have to contract with several organizations to provide
Okay.
transportation.
And the vans that we have, is that also part of the fleet?
Any other questions? We have roll call, please.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant? Mrs. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore?
Yep.
Dr. Turner?
Yes.
Thank you. Am I losing? Item G is the recommendation to approve Medicare transportation as a provider for special needs, homeless, and foster student transportation.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
You have any questions? I got one.
Mhm.
Do we have to go very far? No, maybe I'm phasing it wrong. Are the any of these students here that we're transporting to the school, or are they someplace else? And we're picking them up and bringing them over here?
Normally, they're in our district that we're transporting. If we have a situation, like you mentioned, where a student's in foster care and they are placed in another town, we offer gas cards for that. So, like if by law, if they're living here and let's say they're replaced over in Milford, they do have the option to stay here or go to Milford. And if they made that choice by law, we have to give them help with transportation. So when we have those unique situations, there's also some with homeless students, then we normally give a gas card for that. The gas card, it is every month. And there's a bunch of laws related to that. Sarah could give us a lot more information.
Is that a choice they make, that if they move to Finneytown, we still have to, if they want to still come here, we have to allow that?
Usually, it's not a best interest determination, so it's the whole child welfare team that
Oh.
has to participate, and they work through kind of like a form that they
to be a bad person. But anyway, well, I mean, you don't get that choice if your parents move out of a school district just because you're with foster parents. It shouldn't really make a difference. You
Well,
should.
It's the law, though, isn't it?
It's the law,
Yeah.
yeah. It's because of the,
That don't make no difference. How many people go around here breaking the law all the time? And how all these Kentucky plates I keep seeing are parked up the street, and when they drop them off on the bus, they getting in these cars. And I know that Kentucky's not over here. I mean, I still see that. Parents are sitting up there waiting for them, and if I'm letting you off on, I think it's Bluegate or Belt. No, it's Bluegate. There's 3 cars that sit up there, and they pick up these kids. I know the people that live on Bluegate because it's just a little circle, and they don't have no kids up in there because it's older people that have been there for years. And as soon as the bus goes, they go too. They go left, right, and straight. So that's been that, but that had been going on for years. And but I just think it's unusual. If you move, you go where the school system is that you're going to. If it's a special needs student that has to have something that we're giving and nobody else is giving, I can understand. But when it's just the fact that, like the lady we had that said she didn't know she had to tell y'all she moved, and we
Right.
were still transporting her and educating her kids here because she didn't think she had to tell us that.
Right.
So I just don't understand.
And
it
I will
like that.
say, when we find out that someone is doing that, we do withdraw them. So if
Yeah.
you want to get us those license numbers, we'll look into that. But because we are not open enrollment, so if someone moves and they are bringing their child, unless they fall under one of the specific things like homelessness or special education, then we do find out where they are living, and then they are withdrawn.
Yeah. Okay, can we have roll call, please?
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Ms. Bryant, Mrs. Ellis,
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore, Dr. Turner.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Item H is recommendation to enter in the contract with Universal Transportation Systems, UTS, as a provider for special needs, homeless, and foster student transportation.
Could we have a motion, please?
So moved.
Ms. Bryant.
Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Ms. Bryant, Mrs. Ellis,
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore, Dr. Turner.
Yes.
Thank you. Item I is the recommendation to approve Everdriven Technologies, LLC, as a provider for special needs, homeless, and foster student transportation.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Ms. Bryant, Mrs. Ellis,
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore, Dr. Turner.
Yes.
Thank you. Item J is the recommendation to approve breakfast lunch programs for the 2022-2023 school year. As a reminder, all of our students eat breakfast and lunch for free. However, if students would like to purchase an additional breakfast or lunch, the cost is as follows. Breakfast is $1.50. At the elementary, lunch is $2.75. At the junior and senior high school, it is $3 and milk is 50 cents.
Could we have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Could we have roll call?
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Ms. Bryant, Mrs. Ellis,
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore,
Yep.
and Dr. Turner.
Yes.
Item K is the second reading for the bylaw and policy changes, use of credit cards, weapons, and wellness.
Could we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Could we have roll call, please?
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Ms. Bryant, Mrs. Ellis,
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore,
Yep.
Dr. Turner?
Yes.
Thank you. Item L is the recommendation to approve all 12-month employees' maximum number of vacation days that can be carried over in any given year to be increased to 60 days. The maximum number of vacation days eligible for payout at time of separation is 45. And I just want to explain this a little bit more. So right now, the system that is in place, you have a certain number of days that they can roll over and carry. So if, for instance, I earn 25 days in a year and I didn't take any of my vacation, and so we come up to the anniversary of my contract and I still have all 25 of my days, when it would roll over in the new year, I would automatically lose 5 days, because at any given time, the way it was written currently is you could only hold and be paid out for 45. This creates a problem because a lot of our 12-month employees work in our buildings, and their contract goes until it starts September 1st.
Well, it depends. Admin's
Not
August 1st.
admin.
Oh. July 1st and August 1st. There's 2 groups.
So there were several people that wanted to take their days that they were going to lose in August, which is not good for the school because we need them there in August. So they can bank these days. They cannot get paid out any more than they were getting paid out in the past, but you could hold up to 60 days being paid out for 45. So if they decide to leave the district, they would not be paid out any more than they would have been previously, but it does give them the option to bank a little bit more, and that way they don't take those days automatically that they're going to lose.
Boy, I'd have been in trouble. Okay. Could we have a motion, please?
So moved.
Brian.
Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant? Yes. Mrs. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore?
Yes.
Dr. Turner?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Item M is the recommendation to enter into a contract agreement with Jennifer Danner as manager of the Comprehensive Literacy State Development Grant, CLSD is what we call it, for the 22-23 school year. The total cost is $62,000, and that is paid out of grant funds.
Do we have a motion?
Second.
Okay. Y'all got any questions? Do we have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant? Mrs. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore?
Yep.
Dr. Turner?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. The next item is the consent agenda. Give everybody a minute.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Turner Anderson.
Turner and Anderson. Y'all have any questions about anybody that's on here? Okay, could we have roll call, please?
Mrs. Anderson? Yes. Ms. Bryant? Yes. Mrs. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore?
Yep.
Dr. Turner?
Yes.
And that's the end of my report.
Okay. We don't have any special orders? Anything anybody want to talk about? Huh? Huh?
I said no, sorry.
Okay, we don't have a report. Okay, the next meeting will be Monday, August the 15th, 2022 at 6 p.m. Do we have
Great.
a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Great.
Okay,
Thank you.
Turner and Kilgore, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We'll do that.